Hello, and thank you for joining us for a Westwood Trust Creative Chat. My name is Claire Williamson, and I am the Director of Education and Community Engagement at Society for the Performing Arts. To briefly describe myself and my surroundings, I am a white woman with brown hair pulled back and dark-rimmed glasses. I am wearing a blue-collared shirt, and there are several framed pictures on the white wall behind me. I am thrilled to be chatting today with one of the live commission awardees of the Houston Artist Commissioning Project, Patrick Davis. The mission of SPA's Houston Artist Commissioning Project is to provide economic and creative support to Houston's artist community, with 6 local artists awarded funds to create original work that will premiere on the Jones Hall stage this October and November for 2 socially distanced performances. To learn more about the Houston Artist Commissioning Project and to purchase tickets, please visit our website. The link is shown here on screen. Now, before we delve into the conversation, I would like to take a moment to humbly acknowledge the many Indigenous communities that have long used and continue to use this land as a living and gathering space. SPA's offices on Jones Hall are located on ancestral land traversed by the Karankawa, Atakapaishak, Sana, and Kwalwitekan people. The Alabama Coushatta migrated to the Houston area over 3 centuries ago, and they have also played a large role in shaping the culture and economy of our region. We know that a land acknowledgement is not enough, but we look to this as a starting place of recognition and respect for the lived experience of the people of this land, and to broaden awareness of the forces that have led to this moment. It's now my pleasure to introduce Patrick Davis, SPA's Houston Artist Commissioning Project awardee. Patrick P.J. Davis is a creative and social activist based out of Houston, Texas, and founder of the poetry troupe Starving Poets, Inc. PJ has produced homegrown events such as the Starving Poets Poetic House Party and worked with many other landmark events such as Poetry Lounge Houston, Houston International Jazz Festival, and Tournament of the Stars. He's also been a pioneer on the art scene, co-producing and collaborating with many events from poetry, comedy, theater, jazz, live music, and major festivals. He's the father of a beautiful daughter, Phoenix, and he was born and raised in Beaumont, Texas. Welcome, Patrick.
Hello, world.
Hi, so glad that you're here with us.
I'm glad to be here as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Well, to start off, I would love to just know more about your background and have you share that with our audience. How did you get involved in poetry and spoken word performance as a native of Beaumont?
Well, I think it started in middle school where I wrote my first poem in like the 6th grade. It was one of our assignments, and it just, I started in 6th grade and kind of put it on the back burner and then re-explored again in high school. And they put it on the back burner, and then we started what was called a Love Jones night in college. And then I just started picking up poetry again, and you had, the movie like Love Jones and Slam, and they also had an influence on me as well, which kind of reignited that poetry spirit before I moved here to Houston from Lake Charles at McNeese State University.
Wonderful. Yeah. How long have you been in Houston?
Forever. So enough to say that I'm a Houstonian at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you've been in the area for pretty much your whole life, for sure.
It's like 2001, something like that.
Wow. Yeah. Wonderful. So I'm sure there have been a lot of influences in Houston as well that have sort of gotten you more embedded in the scene here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like Seven the Poet was a big influence. One of the first poets I met here in this area. Tasha Terry, who founded the actual Poetry Lounge, which was a major influence, and IT and Media with Reg and Said as well. Those were also some influences as they were doing some poetry events at the time, and Black Snow as well, the Snow Industries.
Wonderful. Yeah. So did you get started sort of just like going to slam events, or did you work with a particular group? How did you kind of get started as a performer here in Houston?
Well, I mean, I hosted poetry events in college, back
Hmm.
in Charles. So what I did was I took what I knew from there and came here and started the Poetic House Party at Elvont Garden over there on Westheimer,
Yeah. Hmm.
and mixing poetry and music, and it was a hit. And then people just kept doing. We kept, you know, doing the event, and it was like I said, a smash hit.
Yeah. So you found something that the community was looking for.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's great to know. So in your bio, you describe yourself as a creative and an activist. So I'd love to talk a little bit about how you think the arts and poetry specifically play a role in activism and in your work as an activist.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of poets are like sponges, so they pick up on what's going on in the world around them at the time. It's almost like with art. When you look at art, you can kind of tell what was going on in society during that time.
Yeah,
And with poetry, usually poets are going to talk about what's going on with, say, like the police, what's going on in their community. Uh, I mean, even with rap music, because rap music is kind of like the news of what's going on in somebody's community. So just like
totally.
poetry is the same way as well. So it's just reported on what's going on around you, what's influencing you, and how you're feeling, and projecting that back out into the world.
Yeah, I love that idea of thinking of poets as reporters, kind of, taking in what's happening and then, pushing it out to the world again, digesting it and framing it in new ways. It's a
Oh yeah.
really interesting way of thinking about it. Yeah. So I'd love to talk a little bit now about the concept of your commission piece. So your piece is called Black, Blue, All Lives, Oh My. And so if you can share with us the concept for the piece, and a little bit about what it's been like putting it together this year.
Yeah, well, the concept for the piece was, different people with different opinions, and it's like everybody in the room is shouting, and everybody has their agenda, but nobody's listening to the other side or even trying to empathize with anyone else's opinions. Like it's my way or the highway. So I was trying to kind of intertwine and kind of repackage it and present it back to the world to show that, we have a lot more in common than we have in differences. I mean, everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants the American dream, and we just try to display that within the poetry and within the piece.
Wow, yeah, that's really powerful to think about, using poetry as a way to sort of allow folks to hear the other side of these conversations that are happening nationwide right now. Yeah, absolutely. So you're working with some really great local poets on this piece. I'm curious about sort of how that collaboration formed. How did you identify the poets who are gonna the performers who are going to perform each piece that you're putting out, and what the writing process was like, all that.
Uh, well, it was people who I've seen working throughout the scene in film, and some people I've worked with before, and I know kind of how they approach and how they write. And I just kind of presented the idea to them and told them this is basically your persona, which is like, all lives matter, blue lives matter, black lives matter, and make America great. And just say,
Mm.
okay, let's see what you got. And then I created the slides that kind of tie into the poem and some commentary so that you get kind of, pulled into the time of what happened when these different things happen. It kind of makes it like they all happened at the same time, but it's stretched out over a long period of time of all these different incidents. They just keep repeating themselves and the rhetoric and the politics and oh man, and just see what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's going to be so interesting. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about the way you framed the piece is using the like football scoreboards as like scoring as kind of a way to interact between the different pieces. How did that come? How did you develop that idea?
Well, it was kind of a metaphor of a game because
Mhm.
ultimately, at the end of the day, politics is just a game when you're kicking the ball back and forth, and everybody's trying to win, um, and then a lot of the images kind of contradict each other a little bit. Just kind of a spin on it. You know, in one hand, one person does something, you praise them, and then another hand, somebody does the exact same thing, and then they're being demonized because they don't fit inside the perfect box that you presented. So I use some of those images to kind of play with your mind a little bit, and then also come in with the commentary, and then the poets to come in and bring in their poetry as well. So this is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, did each of the poets really create their piece on their own, or is that did you write the whole thing out and then sort of let them interpret it?
Well, I gave them a scope, and then we all sat back and we listened to the different sound bites, and we listened to the audio that played into it. Because initially they had all wrote something, but when I played that for them as well, it's like, hold on, okay, I see where you're kind of going with it. So they went back and they tweaked and kind of made it to where it fit into the direction of the overall concept.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds, I love those kind of iterative processes where, you write something and then come back together and then you refine it and then you come back together again and just really continue to hone in on the message and the overall sort of aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been meeting every Thursday to kind of retweak it and kind of all the way up to the day of the production. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be wonderful. We're really um, excited to showcase the piece and to have everyone see it. Um, Well, I think at the, as we sort of close the conversation, I always like to allow our artists to have some time to kind of shout out any other programs they're working on. So if there's anything that you have going on outside of this piece, like maybe something coming up next or another project that you are excited about, uh, please feel free to share with our audience.
Usually, I'm pretty busy with a lot of projects. I mean, a lot of fundraisers and campaigns and special events. So usually, I try to put everything on my website, which is 713black.com. And
Perfect.
if I'm tied into something, usually I'll put it on that particular site. But we have the We Love Jazz Ed campaign coming up in the fall. Um, and of course, we have this event coming up in October.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'll probably be trying to work on maybe another Poetic House party for the spring. And then in the spring, I'll be back. Because right now, a lot of the events that I've worked with, they've been shut down because of COVID. Because normally I'd have the Houston International Jazz Festival in August, but that didn't happen this year. But we
Right.
did recently do the T-Ball Jazz Festival out in Dallas, which was really awesome. Had a great turnout for that. So um, yeah,
Wonderful.
a lot of concerts coming up. Let us see, Brian McKnight, just stuff like that that I'll be working with. The Millennial Tour should be kicking off in October as well. So
Wow, wonderful. Yeah, it's so
yeah,
exciting to have to, start to be returning to in-person programming and be able to, have these festivals and tours come back. I'll shout out your website one more time. It's the 713 Black down here on the screen for anybody who didn't quite catch that. Um, I guess one other thing that I think it would be great to talk about is just some of the education work that you've done in the past working with students, because you and I have talked about that offline a little bit, and I think it would be great for our audience to know a little bit of the some of the workshops that you've done with different students and career talks.
we did a workshop, a poetry writing workshop. I want to say it was Lee High School. We also did another one with Addicts, Christmas Addicts Middle School, where we all went and performed. But I mean, it's been a while since we've done some of these events, but still, nonetheless, we've done them. We performed for the kids with a live band, poetry, and they were very receptive to our performance. And I've also worked with kids with an after-school program uh, over at Dobie High School. So shout out to Dobie High School as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's just so wonderful, the power of being the arts, of spoken word, of this kind of work with students, to really help them express themselves and look at our world in a different way.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's about all we have time for. Thank you so much to everybody who's joined us virtually. Thank you to our program sponsor, Westwood Trust. Before we sign off, I would like to encourage everyone to learn more about and support the amazing work that Patrick has going on beyond his work with SPA. You can find him at his website, 713black.com, and on social media. Thank you so much, Patrick, for sharing your time with me today and for allowing our audience to get to know you better.
No problem, no problem. Everybody be sure to get your tickets. October the 15th or October the 16th, we'll be at Jones Hall. Save the date. It's going down.
Yes, save the date for Patrick's Houston Artist Commissioning Project premiere, October 15th and 16th, 7:30 p.m. Tickets at spahouston.org. We'll see you then. Thank you.